Hi, in this video we're going to cover cleaning your espresso machine. This particular machine is a Spaziale S5. It's part of the range that we supply, either on its own or as part of a kit. And we're just going to go through the cleaning of it in stages. Firstly, daily cleaning. Just keep the machine looking clean, keep it wiped down and keep the area you're working in clean. The important thing during the day is when you're foaming the milk using your steam wand, you need to wipe it every single time you foam some milk. After you're foaming the milk, just give it a wipe and keep a cloth there purposefully just for doing that job, and keep it clean during the day as well. But that cloth shouldn't be used for anything else, just for wiping the steam arm. It's important to keep that clean, otherwise you end up with a big milk kebab building up on there, which is, as well as looking unpleasant, is not healthy either. So that's just during the day, just keep everything nice and clean. At the end of the day, we need to back flush these groups here where you've been making the coffee. The reason for that is it's all down to the pressure that the machine uses to make the coffee. When making the coffee, the machine uses 9 bar of pressure. 9 bar is about 5 times the pressure in a car tire, so there's a lot of pressure there. And the thing is, when it stops making the coffee, it lets the pressure off. And there's a little valve which is tucked up behind here, which we'll show you in a minute. And that valve opens up to let the pressure off. Consequently, a bit of coffee will go back into the system here, and then you have to flush that out at the end of the day. We can also show you the consequences of not doing that. I'm just going to explain now why it's so important to clean your coffee machine. When you're making the coffee, there's a valve inside the machine next to the group head where the coffee is being made that switches on and off to let the pressure through to make your coffee, and then shut it off again. And like we said, because of the pressure, it also opens up a port, so it lets the pressure off, therefore some coffee goes back into the system. I'll show you an actual valve that's fitted to most coffee machines. This is it. It's normally has a solenoid around here which operates a plunger inside this tube here. If I unscrew that, you can actually see that plunger. That's the plunger, and that's the tube it slides up and down inside. There's a spring on there, so normally it will be kept that way by the spring. The solenoid pulls it in, and then when it releases it frees it to go that way again. That goes against a little hole right in the centre there. That hole is where all the water comes from to make the espresso coffee. It's about 1 millimetre, if that, in diameter. So the mains water comes in there and it goes out through that hole down the bottom and off to make the coffee. This plunger goes against that hole, and normally the water is switched off to go and make the coffee. We'll explain it in a bit more detail on some diagrams here. If I show you the valve against the diagram here, that's the body of the valve, that's the water coming in, and that's the water going off to make the coffee. And the black bit in the middle represents the plunger, which can move backwards and forwards inside there. So its initial state, it's actually forwards, and it's blocking off that little hole where the mains water comes from. That's normally under mains water pressure. So if you just pulled that back, you would get mains water pressure water coming into this valve system. It's normally run by a pump as well, because mains water is not high enough to make an espresso coffee, and it'd be pumped up to that 9 bar pressure we were talking about. So when you want to make a coffee, the pump will start, that valve will move back, and you get this situation. So the plunger's moved back, it's actually blocking off the pipe at the back, which goes off to the drain, and it's allowing water under high pressure to come into the valve. In fact, it floods the whole valve and then goes off down here to make the coffee. Once the coffee's been made, as we said, the pump switches off, the valve shuts again, but there's still pressure where the coffee's being made. So as that slider moves forward, it opens the port at the back, and the pressure can be let off through that exhaust down to the waste. But the consequence of that is that some of the coffee will come back into this valve, and as the valve all settles down again, you'll end up with a fine coating of coffee on all these surfaces inside the valve, and they must be cleaned out. Now, the consequences of not cleaning those out can be that the valve gets stuck. You can get that position where that plunger gets a bit stuck with all the deposits built up around it and it doesn't shut off properly. In that case you can get mains pressure water coming through the valve and straight out down the exhaust, and out through the group head as well, and if left unchecked you can end up with a flood. It can get that bad. And here's a valve that we've just taken off a machine that's come back for servicing, and you can see the mess that's in. It's got all these coffee deposits in here, and in fact they've actually gone hard in there, and the plunger can hardly move. It won't come out freely. It is actually stuck in there, and that's getting very close to the point where it might fail. In fact, we can't get it to come out at all. Normally if you wriggle it a bit it will pop up, but this one is stuck in there. It can get so bad that they are jammed completely solid. Usually in the off position luckily, but if, like I say, if they do get jammed open, then you will get water flowing all the way through the valve. Well, we're actually going to have to use a screwdriver to prise this one out. As you can see, it's coming out now. This is the real messy bit. In fact, I think I'm just going to get a bit of paper and lay it down so you can actually see what's actually coming out of here. That's the base, and that's the valve and all the bits of coffee. If we just sort of scrape it a little bit, you can see all the nasty bits that come off it. So this machine hasn't been looked after, hasn't been cleaned, and in fact you've got all these black deposits in here as well. Again, burnt oils and deposits from the coffee. The other bad consequence of this, of course, is that all the water that you're using to make your coffee is flowing through all this muck, and it will taint the taste of your coffee. It will make your coffee taste bad. There's no point in having good quality coffee and not cleaning your coffee machine. So the operation, basically at the end of the day, is to use your rubber blanking disc, which is supplied with the machine. That fits best into the double group handle, and just sits in there and basically seals the bottom of the basket up so that the water can't get out. That sits into the machine as normal, and on your control panel here you have a free flow button which is used for cleaning. So if I press that now, the machine will start, a bit of dribble of water comes out but it soon stops. The pressure's building up inside there now, and we can leave that 10 or 15 seconds just to swirl around inside and rinse everything in the machine. Having left it to run for 10-15 seconds, I then press the button to stop it, and you hear a little noise. That's the water going back out through the drain system at the back of this valve. You need to do that 3-4 times each side, either at the end of a session or at the end of the day, but make sure you do it every day. So do that on both sides, and again just wipe the machine down at the end of the day. And that's basically your daily routine for cleaning your espresso machine. At least once a week we need to do the same procedure again, only we're going to use some detergent powder in it this time. Again, we're using the double handle here, we're putting the blanking disc in, and now we're going to use a chemical cleaner on it called Polycaf. This will help to dissolve more of the oily deposits from the coffee that haven't been removed just by back flushing with water. So if we open up, I'm going to put in approximately half a teaspoon of powder. You can see the powder inside the group handle there. So now we put that on the machine, and again using the free flow button we do the same procedure again. So press the free flow button, so it dribbles out for a bit and then the pressure starts to build up in there. Just leave it again 10-15 seconds and then press the button to stop it again. Again you get that noise as the cleaning powder goes down through the tubes. I like to do it a couple of times, just let it all swirl around again, just cleaning everything in there nicely. And then I like to leave it a few seconds, because now we've got cleaning powder going through all the system in there. If we leave it just for about half a minute, and then we'll do it a couple of more times. So we've left it half a minute, and we're just going to run it through a couple of more times on there. And that will have cleaned right through the system there. And you'll end up with a soapy deposit in there. So just clean that out a bit. And then the handle back in, and we'll rinse it through just a couple of more times just to make sure it's all clear of the soapy water. And then we have everything nice and clean. So that's the procedure for doing a normal espresso machine, and you need to, like I say, do that at least once a week. Now on the Spaziale machines, there's another thing you can actually do on them. You get a key with the machine, and you can actually take the assembly apart in here, in the group head. The key, will undo a nut in the middle, and then the shower plate assembly will drop out, just like that. This is a new machine, so these parts are all nice and clean, but you can take all the bits apart, you can give them a good clean, and then put them back together again. Now, I would actually recommend doing this before you do the cleaning with the pulley calf. So having cleaned these parts up, we can now put them back together in the machine. They actually go together in a set sequence. So we have the smaller shower plate, which is curved, sits on the screw first. We have a flat shower plate on top of that, and then the brass block sits on top of that, and the whole assembly goes back into the machine. It's quite easy to do. Just wriggle it around until you find the location hole and screw it up. You don't need to screw it up overly tight. Just pinch it up so that it's all firm in there. That's it. What a couple of other bits you can clean on the machine are the group handles themselves. We've had the cleaning powder in there, so it's cleaned this bit nicely, but you can actually take these baskets out, and new machines come with spare baskets as well. Use a screwdriver and you can just ping them out. They're a bit stiff when they're first new, but you can get that basket out to give that a clean, and also the group handle. Again, this is a new one, so it's nice and shiny in there, but I have got an older one here. This came off an old machine, and as you can see, it's gone completely black in there. And the deposits can build up to such an extent that they block the hole at the bottom, and then your coffee won't even come out of the group handle. So it's important to clean that as well. The best way is a bit of pulley calf, that cleaning powder, in a bowl of hot water, and just leave these in to soak, perhaps overnight, and then give them a good scrub out in the morning, and a good rinse. Just one thing to note, there's a spring in there, which is a little, like a wire spring. That clips into a groove just inside here. It is easy to lose that. Be careful not to lose it, because that's what holds the basket in. And that spring should sit in the little groove inside there. Bit fiddly to get in, but it will just go in there, sit inside the little groove, and then your basket goes inside, and if you give it a just tap, it'll ping back in. Then the other thing to clean on the machine is the drip tray. Like all espresso machines, that drip tray will lift off. You can take it over to the sink and give it a wipe and a clean. There's a hole underneath where it drains out. You just put your finger over there, stop it leaving a trail of water all over the floor. You can take that away and give it a good clean. And And that sums up cleaning your espresso machine. These instructions are actually downloadable. The link is just down there below the video, but you can download these instructions on our website. There's a free PDF there for you to download. And remember, a clean machine is a happy machine.